Welcome to Only a Podcast. Two blokes upside down and many miles from home talk about popular culture and unpopular culture too. Music, books, films, the news, what we had for dinner last night, anything goes. Apart from politics, probably. Kia ora koutou, and welcome to episode 20 of Only a Podcast. Say hello, Captain.
Hello, Captain. Kia ora whānau. How are we going?
Yeah, all right. Wet. This episode is sponsored by... I think last episode I was sitting here up to my knees in rain. And yeah, we've just had the wettest July ever. While I know my friends over in the UK have had the hottest July, or hottest anything ever, haven't they? Yeah. So, wonky weather, eh? The world's all gone a little bit mad weather-wise.
It's a bit strange. I was trying to explain really that when it rains here, it really does rain.
Yeah.
England, it's like 25 mils a day. Ooh, that's rainy.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Sorry. 25 mils an hour.
Yeah.
It's virtually solid when it comes down. And
it hasn't stopped. I think 3 or 4 days now. It's just not stopped raining for a second. But I think the end's in sight later today, so we'll see how we go. But the house survived, so that's good. It's always a worry, isn't it, with your guttering and your downpipes. You don't want your downpipe getting overflowing, do you?
Bunged up, no. Terrible.
No, not at my age.
No.
So, so what you been up to? Anything interesting?
We've got lots of culture. Yeah, we'll do it later on. We've been to cinema quite a bit, and I've got a couple of books on the go, but I might save those for next time. One of them especially is the end of an era, because the author passed away some time ago. But he wrote the book before he died.
Well, it's best time to do it. Best time to do it.
No, I mean, but with his death in mind, he thought,
I see what you mean.
This is just my last book. We'll go to that. We'll go to that if we have time. If we run out of time in this one, and I don't think we will, or I'll just do it next time around when I've completely finished reading it.
Cool. Yeah, cool. All right. Do you want to kick off? What you got for us?
Let's catch up on which pop stars made a genre shift and got serious. Question we asked last time around, because we were thinking, George Michael, scratched our heads, Stevie Wonder, maybe. And over on Mastodon, there's one of my compadres called Davosaurus, the mighty Davosaurus, who came up with quite a few good examples. We're quite ashamed that we missed one of them, I think. So the first example he came up with is Ministry, a nasty, loud rock band led by a guy called Al Jurgensen. And when they started out, as Dave said, they were pretty much like Depeche Mode or Pseudo Echo or someone like that, a kind of rinky-dinky synthesizer early 80s band. And they set out on that path, but you listen to them these days, and crikey, they're loud and they're guitar-y and evil. So that is quite some shift. And a little bit obscure for most of us, perhaps, but it certainly was a change in aspect, genre, or whatever you want to call it.
That was that was good stuff that he gave us, but slightly different. He didn't read the question properly now, did he? No, I mean, we were talking about pop stars, weren't we? Pure pop stars, but this is another good one. Just acts that have made a complete genre shift. They've gone from death metal to dub reggae or something or whatever. No,
that's pretty good. But what he did come up with from basically the most famous manufactured pop band of all time, the Monkees. He said, well, Michael Nesmith of the Monkees started out doing the pop stuff and ended up writing a lot of good tunes and being well respected by a lot of musicians and press, and doing sort of country rock, I guess you'd say, perhaps. Good one. Absolutely.
He had that hit with Rio, wasn't it? Rio, that was one of his songs.
There's what else did he write? Different Drum. The songs that you might have heard for other people, if not him. Good, flipping good example, that one.
Yeah.
But Dave also twisted it slightly and said that, well, you could have one-hit wonders in this particular category. And he also mentioned, who we talked about also last time when I went to see the documentary, Chumbawamba, who started out as anarcho-punks and then had a massive pop hit, which I guess is a bit different.
Yeah.
But certainly changed their careers. And he also mentioned other kind of musical shapeshifters like David Bowie, Brian Ferry. Oh yeah, Dexys Midnight Runners with Kevin Rowland. The changes they made as they went through their careers. Yeah. I guess Bowie, the ultimate kind of chameleon. Yep. In that, but not quite. Again, not quite the question we asked. No, but good answers all the same. It's all food for thought, and it's all content for future episodes. That's all good. Yep. Funny what you said there about Chumbawamba and being one thing that ended up being something else. Reminded me a bit of now Manic Street Preachers. Now, you remember when they first came along? Generation Terrorists. That was what they were known as, Generation Terrorists. Yeah. When I saw them performing on the final of Strictly Come Dancing, while the ballroom dancers danced in front of them, I did kind of wonder what happened to the Generation Terrorists. Yeah. So there's been a bit of that, I guess. Again, another topic for another day, but... I don't want to use the phrase sellouts, but complete sellouts. Sorry, but you just have. So let us know your thoughts on that one, folks. Oh, good stuff. Thanks, Davosaurus, for that. Keep them coming. That's great. Yeah. Okay. You got anything else for us? No, we have set off in motion another query about your best soundtrack album, be it a compilation of tracks or original music composed for films, and we've been getting some answers on that, which have all been great. We need some time to think about it, I think. Yeah, because we might put together our own playlist of our best of all those albums. The reason that came about, that topic, was brings me nicely on to I watched a film week before last called Baby Driver, which some of you may have seen. It's an Edgar Wright film. You know Edgar Wright. He directed Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and all that lot. And it's a kind of bank robbery heist kind of a film. It's about a very young man who's an incredibly good, gifted driver, and he's in debt to the mob to do their driving for them. So it's that. And it stars Ansel Elgort. I don't really know who he is. He has done other films. John Hamm, Lily James, and again, I don't know if it's okay to say this, but it's Kevin Spacey plays a big part in it. I don't know if we're allowed to watch Kevin Spacey films or not anymore, seeing as he's cancelled. But I don't know. But it was a great film, and the soundtrack stood out for me. The soundtrack was incredible. So that's what prompted the question. I don't know if you've seen the film, Captain. Have you? No, it's not what I have, to be honest. No, you should. It's good. It's a lot of driving stuff, but it's not like Fast and the Furious. But the soundtrack, I mean, you've got. I'll just run down some of the artists. You've got John Spencer, Blues Explosion, Jonathan Richman, Beach Boys, Carla Thomas, Dave Brubeck, The Damned. Where else are you going to get Dave Brubeck in The Damned? And then the Commodores, T-Rex, Beck, Blur appear on there, Martha and the Vandellas. It's just a brilliant soundtrack. And I would describe this film as maybe the best film Tarantino never made, if you know what I mean. There's some influences there, big time. So watch Baby Driver. It's a good film. Watched it with the kids, so it's pretty family friendly. There's a bit of violence, guns and whatnot, as there is in these things. But it's all right. So that's what prompted the question, really. What are your favourite soundtracks? So we've had a few. We'll compile them and come back with something, but do keep them coming in. Let us know what your favourite soundtrack albums are. As you said, there's two. There's one which is like a compilation of existing hits, and there's those that are original compositions. Strong category, I think, that one. I mean, one of mine will turn out to be a Kevin Spacey film. Again, LA Confidential soundtrack is a good compilation of jazz. Nice, great. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. I'll do one, shall I? So
Go on, then.
I know I'll probably mention this every episode, but it's because it's kind of the new episodes are coming out every week. So Only Murders in the Building, which I know I talk about a lot. Yep, still going strong. A new episode came out yesterday. Watched it last night. Big twist. It's got loads of big stuff happening. It's really, really good. Really, really good. Everyone, you should watch it. It's original. Let's say. So that's me TV recommendation done.
Cool.
Which I know it's the same one I recommend every week, but there we go.
Yeah. I've got a couple to say from next time around. That we've delved into Sherwood, the crime drama set in the time of the miners' strike in the UK, and it's proving to be absolutely fantastic so far. It's chock full of solid British acting talent. So much so that they some of them only last one episode, and yet you think, how on earth? What? You can't get rid of an actor of that class. But I'm not going to say any more about that until we get around to maybe next time when I've done the whole thing and got my thoughts together on it. But it is superb.
Yeah, that's very high up on my watch list. It's so
time.
It's set around Nottingham around the time of the miners' strikes, right? But there's kind of Robin Hood references, are there, from what I've seen of the trailers?
There's that. It is incredibly loosely based on real events that happened in 2004, I think, if that rings true. But this plays off a further level of tension between Nottinghamshire miners who stayed working during the miners' strike and became scabs, and the National Union of Mine. They were the UDM, and the National Union of Mine Workers, who struck and were very upset by the UDM who carried on working. So that's an extra sort of level of angst between the protagonists in Sherwood.
It's great stuff.
Top stuff. It really is.
Yeah. Good.
Cool.
All right. I some of you might have seen on the socials, I started reading a book, the Rod Stewart autobiography.
Yes.
Have you read that? I don't know if I asked you that question.
I have read. I didn't have time to check if it was that one. I have read a Rod biography at some point.
Right. Okay.
But that one's quite new, isn't it?
2000 and something. Yeah, it's it's an autobiography. It's I've heard it's it's going to be an absolute riot. I've not got to the riotous stage yet. I'm at the point where he's he's started making a few records, and he's got together with Ronnie Wood and the whole Long John Baldry and all that stuff. Yeah, some real good 60s music references in there, for sure.
Python Lee Jackson.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet. I think
we're up to that bit.
No, I'm still in the 60s at this point. Right. But
cool.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a good one, so I'll keep you all posted on that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yep.
So, shall I dive in with something?
Yeah, you crack on.
Yeah, cool. We're going to do an RIP. We're going to do rest in peace to Claes Oldenburg, artist and architect, I guess. And look him up, folks, especially on Google Images, because he's known for big stuff, big sculptures. If you want an entrance to your gallery that looks like a giant pair of binoculars, and you walk between the, two lenses of the binoculars to get into the building, then he's your man, or he was your man. There's some amazing things that have made people say, oh my God, look at that, the world over. There's a giant dustpan and brush outside the Denver Art Museum. There's the Bottle of Notes in Middlesbrough, no less, in the UK. Look it up again. Okay. There's a giant matchbook in Barcelona. There's a big bow and arrow in San Francisco. It's all seriously arty and colourful and impressive. A giant blue trowel. I can't remember where the blue trowel is, but anyway, he's done all that stuff. Which ties up nicely with a New Zealand obsession also in towns throughout the country with big things. There's, if you want to put yourself on the map, you need a dirty great construction outside your town, relevant to the area you're in usually, if your town is famous for something, then build a giant famous thing outside it.
So down here, there's a little town called Cromwell, which is famous for, or Central Otago, which is famous for its stone fruit, peaches and cherries and what have you. And you drive. Welcome to Cromwell, and here's a massive peach for you to look at. So we've got one of them down here.
Ohakune. There are lots of market gardens around Ohakune, and they have a giant carrot outside the town, as you would. Pretty near us in the Waikato. There's a town called Pairoa that makes fizzy drinks, and the famous New Zealand fizzy drink is L&P, which stands for lemon and Pairoa. Wait a minute, lemon and the town? Well, it's the mineral water that comes from near there. So
I never thought about that before.
No.
So Orange and Grimsby, please. Yeah,
exactly. It is a little bit strange. Now, I have been to the giant L&P bottle in Pairoa, but I have to say I have been to the traditional old giant L&P bottle in Pairoa, because there is another one a little bit further down the road. I think at the place where they make it, or is it a cafe near the place where they make it? Anyway, there are two L&P bottles in Pairoa. It seems a little bit over the top. But it's great. I mean, there's a town called Springfield in South Island where I have been. I think there's a cafe in Springfield. It's very small, but it does have a giant donut.
Yeah, of course it does.
It does.
Where is that, Springfield? I've never heard of that.
It's sort of Central Otago and Mount Hutt, kind of.
Up that way.
Close to up that way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You wouldn't. You have to look it up. It's not big. It's not a big place at all.
Up the Arthur's Pass.
That sort of around there.
Yeah.
There are some great ones. They're inspired by a radio competition. I think in Tuatapere there's a giant sausage, which is cool. Manaia, a very small town, is the bread capital of New Zealand, and they have a giant loaf outside it. What else have I seen? I've seen the giant crayfish near Kaikoura. Yeah, giant crayfish. It's on the roof of a building. It's huge. So that's
good.
Claes Oldenburg didn't really have to do anything in New Zealand because it's already been done.
We got that covered
times over. Yeah,
I guess
there's a giant trout in Gore.
I've seen the Gore trout. There's a big anchor in Bluff.
Yeah.
Which is said to be connected to Stewart Island.
And the chain goes. The chain from the anchor goes into the sea, then up on Stewart Island. The chain comes out, and that's the start of the Rakiura Great Walk. You walk underneath the chain to get to it.
Oh, I see. Fantastic.
Yeah. Big
stuff. Yeah, I think they've got that from the Americans, right? I'm sure that. I just assumed that was an American thing. Don't know if it is or not.
Yeah.
The big thing, the big balls of string and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That. You got anything else, Captain? I've got a couple of stupid little things to add on the end. So get the sensible stuff out first.
Well,
you see a couple of films, didn't you?
I have seen a couple of films. Yeah, we've been doing cinema quite a bit. So I went to see two serious and sober films with lots of interest. One called Benediction, which is about the English war poet, writer and soldier Siegfried Sassoon, who, quick aside, featured in at least the first book of Pat Barker's Regeneration trilogy about the First World War, and an episode from pretty much that first volume of that trilogy is in Benediction. He was decorated for bravery on the Western Front. He was a phenomenally brave man, to such an extent that he got the nickname Mad Jack. As part of being a poet, which he wrote about the horrors of the trenches and that kind of stuff, but he was a focal point for dissent. It says on Wikipedia, when he made some kind of a protest against continuation of the war, because he felt that other solutions should have been pursued. That sounds blindingly obvious at the time, but quite a revolutionary view if you're a famous soldier. His argument was, obviously, that millions of men dying in muddy fields was the wrong way to do it, and diplomacy and talking to one another was the best way. Unfortunately, his superiors thought that was a crazy thing to say, and forced his admission to a military psychiatric hospital called Craig Lockhart. Yep, he's mad. Put him to one side, send him away. We won't have any of his revolutionary chat around here. We'll pretend he's mad. While he was there, he met the poet Wilfred Owen, who was influenced by Sassoon, and subsequent to the war, he mixed in high society and had affairs with a great number of famous people, including Ivan Novello, who were all pretty nasty to him, I have to say. If the film is anything to go by, he tended to pick the wrong kind of person to be infatuated with. But won acclaim for his writing in later years, and is played by Jack Lowden in the film, who was in Slow Horses. He was River Cartwright in Slow Horses, which we talked about a while ago. A great performance from him, and the elder Siegfried Sassoon is played by Peter Capaldi, once Doctor Who. Yep. Terrific stuff, but a very sobering and emotive film and subjects. Okay. Well worth a visit.
Sounds like a laugh a minute, that one.
It's not yet. It doesn't have too much of that going on in it. But made me also fish out the Pat Barker's Regeneration trilogy again to have a skim through. I had reread it not so long ago as it happened, and when I saw the film, I thought, we should go see this. Good. Recommended. Great performances. And the other one we went out to see, which has great New Zealand interest, is a film called Whina. Whina, folks who don't know. And Whina Cooper was a Maori woman who was born in the north of New Zealand in 1895, and was pretty much what you might call an activist all her life, which was a long and successful one. She was instrumental in local affairs up in the north, set up some Maori land development schemes. It was people will know that the colonisation has removed many millions of acres of Maori land, and she was instrumental in activism geared up towards the return of that land. When her husband died, which was in 1949, she moved to Auckland and founded the Maori Women's Welfare League, which improved living conditions and actually, went around doing the basics and putting statistics together about who was living where and what kind of discrimination they faced. And that work then gave her an MBE in 1953, but this was merely a prelude to the most famous episode of her life when she led a 640-kilometre march in 1975 from Te Hapua, which is way up north, to Parliament in Wellington.
Wow.
Was organised by Maori groups who were opposed to further loss of their land. And it was on the TV. She was 79 at the time, 640 Ks. About 5,000 marchers arrived at Parliament, where she presented a 60,000 signature petition to the then Prime Minister Bill Rowling, and made a big impression on everyone. There's a scene in the film which is real footage of the marchers coming over Auckland Harbour Bridge. An amazing thing to be seen.
Oh, I'll have to see that. That sounds fascinating.
It's great. She died in 1994 at the age of 98.
Wow.
And more than 1 million people watched the live television broadcast of her tangihanga funeral. Tremendous.
Oh, okay.
Lifetime and service, well documented, well played by 3 different actresses. Rena Owen, specifically, who was in Once Were Warriors, plays her in later life. Phenomenal. All 3 phenomenal performances.
Great.
It's good. And New Zealanders who haven't seen it should get out there before it stops being in cinemas.
I've got a feeling one of my daughters went and saw that with the school a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I didn't really talk to her about it. I'll have to see what she thinks.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, good stuff.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay. Mending stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
I know this has hit home to you this morning.
This is topical because just this morning, I dropped my phone on the floor and cracked the screen, which I don't like doing. I'm not much of a one for doing things like that, but so it's really annoyed me. The phone's not all that old. It's a fancy old 5G one. Yeah. So I went to YouTube. I can fix stuff. I went to YouTube. Right, how do you replace the screen on this thing? It's that hard to do, but the guy started off right. I've had it sitting on my heat pad for an hour. Like, what? So so it sits on a hot thing to make the glue soft. Then a number of tools you slide around the edge to try and prise all the glue out. So they're basically glued together. There's no screws anymore. Yeah. So I don't think I'm going to be able to fix this thing myself. So I mentioned this to you, and then you told me, you want to talk about that today. So go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I am mildly obsessed with a few YouTube channels about making and mending things. I follow a couple. Some of it's kind of slow TV, if you like, because it takes a while, and they take their time and they do their thing, and there are many pictures of welding and sanding and all those kind of things. There's a guy called Ed China, who you may know. He's generally involved in automotive mending and fixing and making. Recently, in the Queen's celebrations, he drove an orange with a Mini engine in it down the mall. The Outspan Orange Mini has been around for many, many years, and he's got one. It's an orange with wheels and windows and engine and stuff.
Of course.
And it's road legal. A quick aside, Ed China also has made many road legal things. He's made a road legal sofa, for God's sake. You could just sit there in sofa with your goggles on, driving down the road.
I know
it's got a lamp.
You mean. I know who you mean now, yeah.
And he's been on car programmes on the TV, which he stopped doing now, and he's just got his own channel, and he does various stuff with sponsorship. And the other one I most recently came across is a German girl called Laura Kampf.
Yeah.
First seen by me on was it Adam Savage, used to be in the Mythbusters, has got his own. He's got he knocks out loads of stuff every day. Adam's on the internet building and commenting on things, and she did some things with him for a TV programme. And I'd like the kind of things that she does. And the other one, the final one, I'm obsessed about 3 of them, is a guy called Dominic Chinair, who's on the repair shop. He's the beardy one who does all the metalwork.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dedicated himself to relaunching a thing called an English wheel, which is a thing which you use for bending sheet metal. You can make, if you make car bonnets out of a flat bit of stuff, you can, by hand, push it through one of these things and turn it into a nice curved beast to bolt in your car. And he's currently at the moment making these machines, so that the art of using an English wheel. I told you it was slow TV. I could hear people switching off right now.
2 people just died.
Yeah, I know. But it's kind of fascinating, the obsession that he's got of making these things, that have been around for donkey's years but aren't really used anymore, because giant factories do that kind of thing, and getting people to have the skill of using an English wheel. It's just mildly hypnotising, I think. So it kind of made me think about the things that could be mended or could be made at very least. So I now have this sort of little, could I make that kind of thing? Harking back to my granddad, I think a bit, who, had a shed in the garden which is full of all sorts of stuff. He would pick things up on his walks, and in the middle of the road there'd be a bit of chain. Oh, I'd save that. It might be useful later on. And he had a lot of stuff that he'd saved. And I'm not as obsessed as all that, but it now has made me think. Case in point, as we do a lot of horsing about in the countryside and get muddy and stuff, I thought, right, the cars are going to have some mats in them to preserve the carpet, extra mats on top. So I just, went to the hardware shop and found some sheet rubber that you would use to put on, I don't know, the bottom of toolboxes or garage floors and that kind of stuff. And I flipping made some car mats, and it wasn't that hard.
No.
And if you're going to make things, I think the basic thing that you need is time.
Time and space and the right tools. Very important.
Yeah, chiefly time. I mean, tools could be got, and you can learn how to use tools, but that's time again. Yeah, it does take money, but it's all there, ready to be discovered, I think. But the time is the aspect. So I think maybe you think, I don't have time. I don't have time to make anything. And again, if you just spent an hour and a half on Instagram scrolling up and down, then you might just have time.
Doing something, yeah. I'll tell you where it's a good place to start, and it's something I've been looking at, and it's something I'm really planning to do, is making stuff out of pallets. Furniture and stuff, planters and raised beds and seats and tables. Because pallets are free.
That's it. People just want you to take them
away. Yeah. So get some pallets, and you just need a saw and a drill and a few basic tools, and you can again go to YouTube. People make all kinds of stuff out of pallets, and it doesn't really cost you anything. Yeah. So that's a good place to start, I think. But maybe we should have a challenge. We should try and both make something and share
video it and put it on the YouTube. Yeah. Oh, it is making me think. Especially these days, things cost so much. Oh God, it's definitely sounding old now. But that we had a slightly wonky. We have a combination lock on the back door, and it wasn't working too well. So I thought, I looked up how much they were. They were $340. I thought, okay, I'm going to take it to bits first.
Yes. What could go wrong?
I knew I could get another one.
Springs all over the boing.
I could just go get another one.
Yeah, exactly. You haven't lost anything.
And I managed to work it out that it's actually acceptably working again. So even if it only lasts a couple of months, I've saved myself that amount of money for that amount of time.
Excellent. And what's the code? Just remind me, what's the code?
1111, of course.
Yeah.
I think was another last one. We had an old fruit bowl, and it looked like lovely wood underneath. If you could see through all the horrible scratched and perishing varnish coating it had on the thing, which had gone through in certain places, and it was just all worn and horrible. And we were thinking, we should take that off to a French polisher and get it fixed. I was thinking, it would be really nice. And I thought, what are we doing? So one day I just thought, right, okay, various grades of sandpaper.
Yeah.
Looked in the shed. I've got various grades of sandpaper already.
Exactly. Of course you have. We all have.
But I went and took an hour and a half, and it looks lovely.
Yeah.
And I found a place that sold a particular kind of food grade oil that you can put on it, and just rub some of that around it, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, no, good for you. That's great.
So the French polishers of Auckland have been denied one more job
just put them out of
by
business.
Me.
Yeah.
I know, I probably have.
Yes, funny enough, I'm looking at it right now. A couple of years ago, not long before I left the UK, I was doing this, cut a long story short, I was doing this music band project thing, charity concert thing. So I had to leave a guitar. I was, for rehearsals, I didn't want to be dragging my guitar around, so I wanted one that I didn't worry about if it got nicked, because I had to leave it somewhere. So I went onto eBay for a cheap guitar. Any old electric guitar would have done. And God, I can't believe my luck. This guitar came up, a Strat copy, and it was about 4 streets away from where I live.
Oh, there you go.
And it was ending in 1 hour, and there were no bids. Opening bid £20. I couldn't believe it. So I got this guitar. It's Encore Strat copy. Anyone who knows guitars will know it's a very popular beginner's guitar, an Encore. And I got it for £20, and it was around the corner. I walked around and picked it up. So unbelievable luck. And I used it all for the rehearsals, and it was fine. It played fine, just sounded a bit crap, you know. And I've kept it, and I'm just looking at it now, and I got it out a week or two ago, and I just thought, I'm going to fix that up. I'm going to make that into a nice guitar. You know, get some pickups and replace all the electronics, all the pots and switches and stuff like that, and because it plays really nice, it feels okay.
We could start by sanding the name off.
Well, that's exactly what I'll do, and I'll put an original logo on it. I'm not going to make a counterfeit Fender or anything like that, but I'll sand the name off and make a logo and stick it on there, and a couple hundred, I reckon I can make it into a pretty decent guitar.
Yeah, people have done that before.
Oh, yeah.
Is it rumoured that I think Jeff Lynne of ELO had a Columbus Gibson Gold Top for years, and had sanded Columbus off, I think. Removed the logo, just carried on using it. Yeah. It'd be fine. Well, wow, what a great guitar.
Well, but obviously Prince, most famously, his guitar, not that funny shaped thing. You know, if you look at any footage of Prince, and he'll almost certainly be playing this Telecaster, sort of plain wood with a tortoiseshell scratch plate. Now that is what you might call $100 beginner's guitar. Hohner is the brand name. You know the name Hohner, of course. They make cheap guitars. And that was his guitar when he was a kid, and he's used it ever since. And all those records that you hear, that's so much so that I think Hohner made a sort of a signature model, if you like, of that guitar. So you could buy one that looked the same. But yeah, Prince, all his career, he used that cheap thing. And Brian May, of course, built that guitar from scratch. So I'm going to buy the bits and bobs and make it into a decent guitar, and it'll be another Strat that I can get rid of, as I talked about before. Yeah,
because you don't like them.
I don't like it. No, this one I really like it. It just feels really nice. I think because I've always had new ones, and this one was a bit old and beaten up, and I think it needed playing in. So so that'd be quite a nice guitar, I think, when I'm done with it.
So I think there's a plea, folks, to have a look around, you know, and just pause before you chuck something away or take it down to Mendes, and have a go.
Cobblers?
You know? Are there any of those around anymore?
There are plenty of those around. I'll tell you what, the ones near me, I think are really good because they've got loads of trophies in their window, so they must be really good at it.
I think ours is closing down, which is our nearest one. But anyway.
And again, that's something you can quite easily do yourself. Healing shoes and putting new soles on shoes. It's not that hard to do. You buy it all in a kit.
Get the glue
out, put a few nails in the heel. It's not that hard to do. You just trim it off. Because it ain't a cheap thing, is it, getting shoes fixed?
No. Anyway, because the best thing is that you can, while you're doing it, you can listen to sort of back issues of our podcast to fill in the time while you're sanding away. Yeah. I mean, you're going to need something. You're going to need something to listen to, aren't you? If you get bored sanding.
You are.
So, yeah.
Well, we digressed there, but repairing stuff. If you repair stuff, do let us know, fans, because we'd like to know
what you've fixed.
Yeah. And let's all make something out of old pallets and see and share our the fruits of our labour. All right, I read something this week. Robert Forster, who some of you may know from an Australian musician, most famously from the Go-Betweens. I read a quote from him, or something he'd said, which was that on every album, the second last track from the end is the worst track on the album.
Ooh.
So I'll leave that with you, and anyone out there who cares to confirm or absolutely not confirm that fact, that the second last track is the worst track, then we'd like to hear from you on that. One last thing. So I was again, we talked about Kevin Spacey being cancelled earlier. I don't know if it's okay to play Michael Jackson records or not anymore, but I did. I played Thriller, and I was just thinking, 1983 Thriller. Then it's like, hang on, that's nearly 40 years ago. Hang on, that was closer to the end of the Second World War than it is to today.
Yeah.
And these things keep coming up, and I think I did one similar to this before on here. But in 1983, the Second World War was millions of years ago.
Yeah.
It's not.
No,
it's not. And
it's not anymore.
God, it must be part of getting older, right? It's just I don't know how to describe it. Your kind of time scales get a bit warped, or reality. I don't know. I remember as a kid in the 70s, people talking about the Beatles, and it's like, oh yeah, they're from years ago, you know, from the old days. It was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's like us talking about, I don't know, a band that split up 5 or 6 years ago. And then before you know, it's 40 years, 50 years, you know, geez.
Right, there's another one, only the other day. Jarvis Cocker has announced that Pulp are going to be reforming next year for some gigs, and it's nigh on 40 years since their first album, It, was released, and that was also 1983. Yep. So there you go.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Crikey.
Yeah, right. Anyway, feel a bit old now.
Yeah,
probably because I am.
Let's wind it. Let's go for a lie down, I think.
Yeah, yes. Time for the
afternoon nap.
Time for the afternoon nap. Yeah. All right. I think we've said it all, have we?
We've done it.
We've covered everything. So let us know what you think about repairing stuff, and let us know what you think about big things. If you've got any big things where you live, send us a picture. And is the second last track on an album the worst? Well, I don't know. I haven't had time to look into that myself, but I will. And we'll try and keep that going. Right. Oh, and soundtracks, your movie soundtracks, we'd like to hear.
Keep that going.
And we'll do a special on that, and you'll all get a name check, and there will be, well, there may not be a cash incentive for you, or there may or may not be cash, but probably not. Yeah. I would say, but you never know. We know, but you never know. I think that's it. Say goodbye, Captain.
Goodbye, Captain.
Right, thanks everyone. You know what to do. Like us, share us, tweet us, podcast. Do people still poke? That's an old Facebook thing. Do all those things for us to help us be more popular, because we need it. Right, thanks everyone. See you later. Bye.
You've been listening to Only a Podcast. If you'd like to get in touch and share your feedback and ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Go to onlyapodcast.com, or you can find us at Only a Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or via our Facebook page. Remember, it's only a podcast.